Hi, everybody. It's Yadida. So, I wanted to take a moment tonight to talk to you about self publishing. This is a topic that a lot of people actually stop and ask me questions about. I have on my Don't Give Up hat for you, and that is the name of my book. It's called Don't Give Up Acknowledging the Struggle, Celebrating Resilience. And I wrote that book back in 2018. I call it, it's like fiction and reality. And it's about my life. It's about the many things that God allowed me to overcome. I would never, ever have made it without His grace and His mercy. And so it's written in a way, it's like easy reading. It's not like continuous chapters. It's like a short story about this, a short story about that, and another one about that. And so maybe you're saying, yeah, but what's it about? Tell me some of it. So, one of the chapters, I'll start with chapter one, and I would have read to you from it, but I think I don't know where my books are. I had two left. They're gone. So the first chapter is called Celebrate Your Snapback. And when we think about your snapback, it's about the ability to bounce back after going through so many different challenges in your life. It's almost like the Energizer Bunny that you just keep bouncing back, but you're bouncing back stronger. It doesn't mean that it's easy when you're going through different things, but you just, the resilience, the determination, and the grit is what you have. So that's chapter one. And then chapter two talks about deliberate titles. So have you ever had someone kind of call you out of your name or say something and you were kind of like, but that's not true. But instead of you refuting it, you actually just let it marinate in your brain for far too long. So that's what deliberate titles is about. It's about the deliberate titles that people sometimes place on you that are not meant for you to own. Your identity, believe it or not, maybe you know this, does not come from people. It doesn't even come from yourself. And I say that because there are moments in our lives where sometimes we feel good about ourselves. And so we're kind of like, no, I feel good. I feel victorious. I can run through a troop and all of these things. And then there are moments when you have those challenges, when you're going through maybe the trials of life or the afflictions or tribulation or something that is very challenging in your life. And maybe you don't feel as strong in those moments as you once did before. And so, what type of titles are you accepting or are you allowing people to say to you? You have the right to be able to say, no, I don't agree with that. I disagree with that. I don't own that. No, no, no. Sometimes you might even say, I rebuke that, right? I think I tipped that the other day. Someone said, but I was like, no, no, I rebuke that. Mm-mm. That's not what the Lord says about me. And so you have to be very, very intentional about accepting the right titles, right? What God says about you, about your identity, because there's an enemy that also says something about your identity. And you don't want to go in that direction because what you believe, you start to become. So if you look at your life and you're just like, oh, everything is just, I hate it. I just hate getting up. Oh, it's Monday. And instead of celebrating, instead of flipping the narrative, and I'm not saying to act like you don't go through anything. We have to be real. But what I want you to do is start to look at it and say, can I learn something from this? Or, Lord, what is it that you're doing? Maybe you're taking something that I don't need in my character and you're building, you're stretching my faith. There are different ways to look at things, but mostly your identity. Because your identity and what you think about yourself, it affects your entire life. It has the ability for some people to say, oh, just because they don't feel this way about me, I don't feel this way about myself. And we don't want to be that way. God, what are you saying about me? What are you saying? Just like the purple right there. I remember years ago when I was in this relationship, close to teens and what have you. I'm in this relationship, and the person, sometimes you have your boyfriend, and it's kind of like they're like, I don't know, are they really like, am I the only one? I have a question here. And so, went through that experience, and I remember I was very heartbroken, and we should have conversations with God. And so I was like, Lord, what are you saying about me? And it was just like all I could think, I had my eyes closed and I opened up my eyes. And sometimes God will allow you to have a supernatural encounter. He's God, He can do anything. And my eyes were closed and I had on a white shirt and I just saw like purple on my shirt. And then it just like it lifted and I was like, what is that? And all I could hear is that you are royalty. Don't settle for less. God does not want His children to settle. He wants us to know that we are royal priesthood, a chosen generation, and to look at ourselves and say, even though I might not look the way I want to, if you don't, right? Find a way to be thankful, find a way to drink more water, find a way to stop clenching your teeth at night, find a way to, I don't know, what did they say? Wash your face with soap at night and not in the morning or something like that. Maybe it's the opposite way around so that you don't dry out your skin. A lot of people are using castor oil nowadays for their skin. Things like that. If you don't like how it looks, you can try to do something about it. Or maybe you're like, this is just the way that it is, but that is not your identity. Deliberate titles. Then chapter 3 is called Duped. So that chapter is a part of my life that was so difficult because I had been duped. I experienced something called marriage fraud. I didn't know that's what it was back then. And that was tough. That was tough because I had hopes and dreams for a particular thing. And somehow it just wasn't what I was told it was. And that happens to a lot of people. And so a lot of people at that time, when they find out that they've been duped or conned or scammed or whatever it is, or they're going through marriage fraud, they tend to isolate because it's hard to go to people who maybe even came to your wedding or not. And they're like, oh, how's it going? And all of these things. And deep down on the inside that it's not going well. But that still, it doesn't mean that you're not special or valuable. It doesn't mean that, what's the word? I don't like the word underdogs or stuff like that. It doesn't mean that you're not valuable. But you have to start to see that you're valuable. You have to start to say that was something that happened. I'm still here. I need to move past this. I need to live. I need to breathe. I need to move. I need to use my gifts. I need to sometimes share my story. Because as long as you isolate, it's almost like the enemy is like, yeah, keep it a secret, keep it to yourself, right? Because there's another chapter that I have that's called Sweetness in Grandma Moses. And that particular chapter is written for people who have experienced sexual abuse trauma as children, right? And so sometimes the idea is that you should hide. You shouldn't say anything. This is our little secret. There are no little secrets when it comes to that. That's not a little secret. That's a big thing. And so I wrote that book to encourage people who have experienced that as well, or that chapter, I should say, because we all have these different chapters in our lives. And so I'll leave you with that part, as far as the chapters. It's on Amazon, it's on Audible, it's on awesound.com, AWESOUND.com. It's on payhip.com. Some people use Gumroad. There's a lot of different ways to get your book up. A lot of people like to choose Amazon because they believe maybe that's the only way to get your book up, but that's not true. It is a good place to get your book up for sure, because you can do your PDF and get your author copies at a discounted rate. If your book is $14.99, your author copy might be about $3.74. So you might want to order bulk of your paperback. You can put it up as an ebook on Kindle, which is really, really neat as well. Or you can put it up on Audible as an audiobook. But there are other ways to do it. There's also Ingram Spark. And I like Ingram Spark because it will push your book to the library. And also you can have it in Barnes and Noble. Amazon doesn't do that. Ingram Spark will also push your book to Amazon, but you have more choices. There's also BookBaby. There's also Lulu. And like I said before, there's Pensight. There's other ways you can do it, like flip pages. That's another thing that you can do, so that it's like an ebook, but the format is different. It's not like you're sliding up this way. It's just like this. And the pages, like you can hear it, but it's all electronic, which is also pretty neat. The main thing that I want to say to you is don't hide your story. Many of you know that you need to write a book. You've been wanting to do it, and yet something's been like, why would anybody want to write your book? Oh, it's so hard. It's not. I've helped a lot of people write their books. They have become bestseller, but listen to me, I believe that a bestseller is a person who reads it and needs it. So if it's one person who reads it and needs it, it's a bestseller. They needed your book. And so with Don't Give Up, a lot of people have just told me, men and women alike, oh my goodness, your book, chapter 4, chapter 3, I can't swim is so funny. So it also has humor inside of there, but there's so much encouragement. There's so much hope. There's so much motivation. And I'm so glad that I wrote it because I never, even when I wrote it, it wasn't like, oh, it's going to be a bestseller. Yes, it is, but I was writing it to be obedient. And many of you haven't done that part yet. You haven't written the book. There are multiple books that I should have right now, and I need to stop playing around, but get them out there. Sometimes distraction will come as you're starting to write on the book, and you have to literally say, I have to set a time, even if it's late at night. Do it in chunks. Work on it 15 minutes. Set your alarm. Get yourself one of those little sand timers that might be for 30 minutes. And just say, I'm just going to put my phone on airplane or whatever it is, and I'm going to give myself 30 minutes to write. 15 minutes to write is better than not writing at all. And so I want you to get it done. All right. Don't waste the oil. The oil is just like that widow who had something that she thought was insignificant. But when she followed the instructions, I'm a coach also, when you follow the instructions, and she did what the prophet, the man of God, I think he was a prophet, told her to do, she went from poverty to being wealthy. She paid off her debt and she lived off the rest because she followed what did not even make sense. This is a faith walk. So go ahead, write your story, write the course. I do that too. I have a course on Thinkific. It's actually highly discounted right now. The link should be somewhere, somewhere on here. But I get that too, because after I went through being duped, all I knew was that I had received so much wisdom, so many lessons about how to help other people. And I took that because I wanted to help more people. Sure, I could coach, but I'm like high end accountability. So it's an hour sometimes that I'm just going to be just straight in it with that person. And so I was like, how can I help more people? Because I'm also a mom. And so that's how that course came about. And I do use it in my coaching group. And I want you to free yourself up to be able to use the gifts, the calling, the message, the story, the idea, the invention, whatever it is that you are supposed to be doing. I want you to start to look at it differently. At first, she said, this is nothing but a little bit of oil. But when God adds super to your natural, amazing things happen. All right? If you have questions or anything like that, you can feel free to give me an email at, I'm trying to remember that email address, hello at FaithWorks Empowered, hello at FaithWorksEmpowered.co. And you can ask, and I'll come back and I'll share some more information here. All right? Until next time, go create something. Talk to you.